Quaylam. Welcome and good evening, everyone. Welcome back, all legislators, Tsawwassen members, staff, and guests. I hope you had a restful weekend, even though you lost an hour for daylight saving springing ahead. I don't know about you, but I felt pretty groggy the next day or two. I felt a little ripped off. But then I was gratified by having the longer evenings as we are now enjoying today. So bless you. And so I think that with a little bit of rest, we're ready to take on tonight's work, this being our last week of our legislative session. I would also like to extend a big gratitude to Connie and Jessica Adams, the sisters, for coming and sharing their song, for blessing our table, to make sure that the food that we're eating is properly blessed and taken care of in accordance to the protocols and the ceremony that our ancestors had set before us. I'm always grateful for Wapio and Quiquimisot for sharing their drum and their song. Every time we ask, they answer the call, and they're always here to share their good medicine and their good drum beat and their strong voices to the work that we have to do tonight. OCM. And thank you again to Mama Jay's for providing nourishing meal for tonight, for being so thoughtful about the food that she makes for us, even making a separate dish so that Loretta doesn't have to eat peas, removing the peas specifically for her. That's love and that's thoughtfulness. We really appreciate all of the thoughtfulness and the love that goes into preparing the meals that we eat before we begin our sessions. So this session marks the 8th session of our spring 2024 legislative meeting. And with every session, we have a lot of important work to discuss today. And we still have a full agenda for tonight. We accomplished a lot of work in the last few days after we got behind a bit, but we still have a full agenda ahead of us tonight. But before we proceed with that agenda, I would like to invite our legislator and relative, Marianne Adams, to open our meeting with a prayer. Marianne?
Hajka Squeakle Sam and Hajka Dame for the Feather. Let us pray, Creator. Listen to our prayer. Thank you for bringing us together. Watch over us today. Please help us with our work. Keep our thoughts strong. Hajka Sam.
OCM, Marianne. Thank you again for coming up and starting us in a good way and sharing your good medicine with us. I'd like to extend a warm welcome back to our feather runner, Dayton. Welcome back, Dayton Jacobs Mayall. We're really always happy to have you walking around and supporting our debating with our feather and being here with your beautiful presence, Hajka. And thank you to your mom for sharing you with us tonight. I would also like to remind legislators, as it is our custom, and staff to wait until they have the feather before speaking and then pass the feather back to the feather runner, Dayton, when you're finished speaking. It's an important protocol that we've developed that helps us manage our discussion and manage our timing of our words and giving us moments to pause before we speak. So thank you for that. Before we get into our agenda, I would like to acknowledge Twilam Yalch Iwans is participating with us today remotely via Zoom, and I will be looking to you, Legislator Twilam, for your verbal vote. Please raise your hand using the Zoom tool if you wish to speak, and we will acknowledge you and ensure you have an opportunity to do so. I just also want to comment on the wonderful gatherings that we have and acknowledge that since the last time we met, that Friday was International Women's Day. And the whole weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, women all over our Coast Salish territory and probably all over the province and the country celebrated women. The maternal cherishing that we have for the women that birthed us and raised us, our moms, our grandmothers, our aunties, and our cousins. And we have a very strong matriarchal society here in Tsawwassen. We have very strong women, Slenny, that guide us and help us along on our journey. I just want to raise my hands to Splachtuit and the staff that supported her in organizing International Women's Day. It's on Sunday at the Youth Center. As I mentioned, I was a little bit groggy, so I wasn't quite on my game, but I went there, and it was a lovely, lovely gathering where we were honoring each other. And I think that that's part of what we must remember, is to honor and lift up our fellow sisters, our fellow mothers, our fellow relatives that are female, because it's a hard journey, and when we're working together as one and lifting each other up, we can accomplish so much. I appreciate the thought that went into organizing the different stations for care, for readings, for crafts, and always inviting, we always tend to invite one of our members to speak at these gatherings and share their story. And just because we know everybody from a day-to-day basis, it's always wonderful to hear someone's individual journey and story. And my hands go up to Pelihuia for sharing her story about her family, about gathering, about being together. And I think that she really, really shone. So I'm glad to see that tradition, those traditions are being carried on. So here's to acknowledging the Sasawasan women in our community, and the friends and family that came out to share in that event as well. Before we go on to the other parts of the agenda, I would like to remind everybody, please put your phones on silent. This is your opportunity if you forgot to do so. Legislatures, staff, and people in the gallery, please do that. The people remotely, that's okay if you don't put it on silent. But for tonight's agenda, we're going to start with a second reading of Schedule 9, the Health and Social Development Schedule. We'll then move into Schedule 11, Natural Resources. And once we've completed that, we'll move into the second reading of Schedule 13, Economic Development, where I can have Ryan Daum on the hot seat, which is one of my favorite things to do. And finally, we will hear the introduction of any legislature resolutions. And I understand that we have 4 on the table tonight, so that will be some interesting work to hear. Are there any questions about tonight's agenda? All right, without further ado then, I think that, oopsie, sorry about that. I think we'll move right into our first item, the second reading of Schedule 9, the Health and Social Development Schedule, Bill 001, 2024. Are there any legislators that need to declare a conflict and recuse themselves from this schedule? We have a lovely room that's set up behind us over here with, I understand, probably with a laptop so that you can listen and hear the streaming if you need to, so that you're comfortable in your waiting while we move through the schedule. Doesn't look like there's anybody here, so that's good news. Let's move on. As a reminder, the purpose of the second reading is to debate the substance and the merit of tonight's schedule. This is the time to ask any questions you might have, share your thoughts on the schedule's content, and as we move through the schedule, I encourage you to listen to the staff presentation, write down your questions, and let's pose a maximum of 3 questions. If you have more, hold on to them, and that'll give staff a chance to write down your questions and be very thorough in their answers. And then we'll call on the next person that might have a question. So without further ado, I'd like to call upon Lakwia, Crystalline Gurniak, the Director of Member Services, to present Schedule 9. Hajka.
Hajka Squeakle and Hajka Dayton for the feather. This is another big budget and schedule, our department, so I'll just bring you through that. This is just a graph over the last number of years on how the budget has increased in the number of different, in health promotion, family supports, income assistance, continuing care, primary care, and so it's quite a bit higher this year. And there's the actual numbers. It's 17, it's just over 17%, closer to 18% increase from last year, just over $5.4 million. So I'm going to start off with primary care. And this budget has increase of $354,000. And I'll just go through the line items and then talk about why it's increased. The core is increased due to from 467,000 last fiscal and to 722,000 for that will include a new manager of health, which I'd like to report that she starts on Monday. Her name is Carmen, and she is coming from UBC as the public health manager there. So she starts here on Monday. As well as 2 new staff for the substance use support staff that we have that weren't in last year's budget. They're currently in this year's budget. So you may have met them. Andrew and Dalton are the staff that are out of here as well. The nurse practitioner clinic is out of here. The budget is only $1,100. Majority of that budget is funded through Fraser Health. So we just need a little bit of money to cover some of the small operational costs. We have mental wellness and our counseling, which is $150,000, which is the same as last year. And that is really for any counselors that TFN members are looking to see that is outside of TFN. So you can, if you have a particular counselor that people would like to see, then we can create an agreement with that counselor and members can see them. Same with mental wellness. We bumped that one up by $100,000 from last year, so it's $380,000 this year for psychology. We're finding that psychology is really, there's a big need for psychology in the community, so we've bumped that up. And then treatment is up 270, or is the same as last year for 275,000. And again, if we do go over the budget for any of these line items, we will try and stay within the bottom line. But if we need to go back to executive council, we can. And then the bottom line is traditional healing for 13,600. So that's for primary care. The next budget is continuing care. And this budget is down just a little bit because we've moved the admin staff to the family services budget. So the core is down by $560,000. And then this is what the community nursing program comes out of, which is the same as last year, 9,000. Our healthcare assistance is 107,000, the same as last year. Auxiliary medical support, 25,000, and then the paramedical support for children and youth and OT, which is occupational therapy, which is 25,000. And then the respite care is $100,000. And that is for elders who need that extra support at home. This is income assistance. This one is up a bit, mainly due to COLA. So the social assistance budget is $500,000, the same as last year. Well, for the social assistance, and then including core, 610,000. We'll move on to family supports. This budget is increased quite a bit by $443,000. I'll just go through the line items and explain a bit what's going on there. So the core, again, is increased to almost $1,150,000. And that's for also a new manager of family services. And our manager of family services is here tonight, Maura Gowans. I don't know if everyone has had an opportunity to meet her, but she's here. And we can introduce her afterwards. But so that's for that, and as well as the COLA, the cost of living adjustment. The community safety project is coming out of here. And last year we budgeted $250,000 for that. We've increased it this year to $350,000. That is also includes $100,000 for contracted services for an external group that we are working with to help us develop our HSS policies and really take a look at all of the policies. Are they working? Can we amend them? Are they working, or do we need to make changes to them? So we're reviewing all of those policies to talk about best practices within the elder community, and the people that we are working with have, this is their area of expertise. So we'll be reaching out to the community around some of that policy work that we're working on. The homelessness prevention program is also out of here for $162,000. That program is fully funded through LUMA and I believe ISK. And then we also have the justice supports out of this one, which is $3,000. So this policy also has new staff. We have a life skills outreach person that is, you may have met her. Her name is Vicky. And then the child and family services worker, which we haven't filled yet. So we'll be posting for that. There we go. Family supports continued. The food bank, we budgeted $25,000 last year, but we moved that over into the community farm. We're really trying to create a streamline all of our food programs, and so we will be working with the community farm to support the food bank, as well as working with Seamus and our cooks that we're hiring or that we have to really create a streamlined food program for food sustainability. And then we have TFN supports for children and families that includes consultation, which is $70,000. Support home for children and youth. This one is a big jump as well. Last year we budgeted $360,000 and this year it's $600,000. And that's mainly due to the fact that we have two support homes. So we have a child support home and we also have the youth support home. And we split those two homes because we can't really have, teenagers in a support home with younger children in a support home and the challenges that come along with that. So we've split that into two different homes and it is also funded. We have the Emergency Assistance Fund in this program, which is $50,000. Supporting youth at risk is $8,700. And then again, we have the elders gathering, the elders birthday celebrations and elders programs. Those have all moved over under Seamus's budget. So that's why that budget has increased and this one has decreased a bit in that. So that's family supports. On to health promotions. This budget is increased quite a bit. We're hoping to have more health fairs and more health promotion events and activities throughout the community. So we've bumped the health fair up to $20,000. We're hoping to have more than one health fair a year. Healthy living challenges and activities such as $5,000, and then health and nutrition workshops is $3,000. So for a total of $28,000. And the staff are really excited about that, by the way. And that's health and social services.
Well, thank you very much, Laquia, for your presentation and all the work that you and your team have put into this. It's good to see that things are starting to staff up. I would now like to invite legislators to pose any questions that they might have to Laquia regarding this schedule and budget. Any questions or comments? Legislator Spalaktowit.
Hajka Squeakwall, thank you for the runner, and thank you for your presentation. For the primary care, could we look into getting a female support substance use worker? I know that we have two males, but it would be nice to have a female one as well. And also wondering if we could look into a licensed grieving counselor, and if we could have the grieving workshop more than once a month, because some people are still grieving even if they've been gone for like a year or so. And I'll pass the feather along. I have more, but I'll stop right now.
Hajka Legislator Spalaktowit. Laquia?
Hajka Squeakwall and Hajka Dayton for the feather. Yes, we've been talking about having more female presence in the substance use area. And we do have contractors that have experience that are working in the support homes. So we can definitely look and talk to them about that for sure. And then the licensed counselor for grieving workshops, we'll take a look at that. And I think that's a great idea to have it more than once a month. So we'll definitely bring that back.
Hajka, any other questions? Legislator Sultanat?
Hajka Squeakwall for the runner and for the presenter. I wasn't going to say anything, but these just minor questions. So how many staff do you have in this department? You know, those are questions I'm asking of every department. Also, with traditional healing, I know you guys have it for the staff, but are the regular members able to access the traditional healer? And do we have to set up an appointment or what have you? That's it for now. I got
Haitchka Legislator Sultanat Lakwia. Sorry.
Haitchka Squeakquel and Haitchka Dayton for the Feather. The staff, I'll just have to count them quickly, but I think it's in HSS, I think it's just over 25, with 2 managers and then supervisors. So the 2 managers report to me, and then staff report to the supervisors. So it's, yeah. And then traditional healers, that is what that is for. The 13,600 is traditional healing for members.
Follow-up question, Legislator Sultanat?
Yes, thank you. It's a follow-up. So what's the process to get the traditional healer to come to my place? Thanks.
Haitchka Legislator Lakwia?
Call the staff. Yeah, we don't have any forms or anything for that, but definitely reach out to us and we'll support with that for sure.
Which staff?
Moira. Oh, between Moira and Terry.
Wonderful.
Language and culture.
Haitchka. Legislator Spalaktowit?
I believe it would be Serena, but you can probably go through Moira, but I know Serena. I do have a question about the family support for the support home for children and youth. Is that open to our members off lands as well, or just for members on lands? Haitchka.
Haitchka.
Lakwia?
Haitchka Squeakquel and Haitchka Dayton for the Feather. The support home is open for all members, whether they live on lands or off lands. And if there's anything that you know of, just please reach out. It is open to all members.
Haitchka. Are there any other questions? Legislator Lakwia?
Haitchka Squeakquel and Dayton for the Feather. Okay, I have a couple questions. For the life skills outreach workers, does that help with like job and employment application? Okay, and for the health promotion, in the budget it says like health events and workshops. Do we have any plans yet to provide like a nutritionist or a dietitian to the community? Thanks. Pass the feather.
Haitchka Legislator Lakwia?
Really good timing. We were just talking about a nutritionist. We've had a few members who do require that. So we were looking into that and what does that look like and what does that cost? So we are looking into that. And the life skills outreach, I'll just respond. That is really to help members in a number of different areas, whether it's, you know, people wanting to learn how to cook or just basic life skills that people are looking for and requesting.
Haitchka. Any other questions, legislators? Legislator Sultanat?
Haitchka Squeakquel and Feather Renner. And notice I'm only doing 2 questions at a time.
Haitchka.
Okay. So what about for continuing care? What about members that need extra support for their operations or medical treatments? You know, like I'm just wondering, you know, we got it for the youth, we got it for, you know, respite care and everything else, but what about just, you know, for emergency operations? And then second question is, still with family supports, how many external, people do we have looking at the policy reviews? You know, we have that, I'm not too sure, do we use policy people now that's employed? Okay, Haitchka.
Haitchka Legislature Sultanat Lakwia.
Hitchka Squeakle for the Feather and Hitchka Dayton. So the continuing care, so for the emergency operations and stuff, we do have the policy. Let me just, under primary care, traditional counseling, psychology. So healthcare assistance. So we provide supports for daily activities at home, such as bathing, dressing, personal care, special exercise and medication administration, support for primary caregivers, delivery of meals and supplements for elders, light housekeeping, and access to medical appointments and stuff. So we don't have anything right now for like emergency surgeries or anything, but that's something that we can look at through the reviewing all of the policies. And then the question about the policies and who's doing that. So we have a small team of experts in this area. I would say 3 that we're working with right now, who are also working with our policy department. So we all work together. And the reason why we've brought an external group in to support us is because they have expertise in these areas and around specifically health and social services, elder care, and that stuff. So it's really, they are going out and doing all the research, looking at other nations, what are the best practices in the specific areas, and then bringing that back to us. I would say 80 to 90% complete. And then our policy team is a part of the whole conversation so that they have the history and background of everything. And then we will Tawassanize it and then bring it to the community to engage on.
Haitchka Lakwia. Legislature Paliquia.
Haitchka Squeakle Haitchka Dayton for the Feather. I'm just looking at the primary care, and during our workshops I mentioned it, but I'd like to mention it again. I would like to, it's a lot of money, and our members really benefit from a lot of these programs, and I really appreciate it. However, I would like to see some supports for members who may not need treatment, but they need other medical. We do like some supports for education, trying to fast track the education assessments for our kids. So we put money into that so that they're not waiting for 2 years. But some of our members need other supports, where they're on wait lists for different procedures or what have you. Maybe there's pain management, so I don't want to see our members being on these wait lists for extended periods of time and maybe taking pain medications or get addicted to that. Then they're being used, the medical treatment centers, right? So I'd like to see some sort of supports for our members that way, so they're not utilizing some of this stuff. Things like the respite care, income assistance, homelessness prevention, the food bank, like how are we supporting our members so that they're not utilizing these programs as much? Like I appreciate some people may need some of this, maybe temporary or whatnot, but what kind of supports are there for our members so they're not dependent on some of those? And then the health promotion, I'm really excited for the extra funds in that, because it's so important to take care of our health and, listen to our bodies and pay attention to all that. So, just to have like themed months, every month there's a different theme, and maybe departments across all of TFN can kind of support in some sort of theme each month would be nice. Haitchka.
Haitchka Legislature Paliquia. Lakwia.
Hitchka Squeakle and Hitchka Dayton for the Feather. So your comment for primary care and supports for members who may need medical treatment or pain management or anything. So we'll take that back, and that may be something that we'll be looking at as well under what our best practices, how can we support members better. So we will, I'll take that back to the team. And then your comment around what are we doing to support members to empower them to gain employment or come off income assistance. So we are working very closely with a lot of our members, and people may not see that or know that, but because it is confidential, but we are working like one-on-one. We're supporting family groupings. We're doing a number of different things to really empower our members to make those positive changes in their life, and we'll continue to do that. And yes, staff are really excited about the health promotion and will continue to grow. And I think that's what we're really hoping with the HSS department, is just to grow with the staff and make some positive changes within the department. So I like the themed month idea.
Hechka, Legislator Kuyakuya.
Hechka Squeakles Hechka Dayton for the Feather. Just one question. But first, I just wanted to welcome Moira, and I'm really happy to see some of the changes in this budget and movement. I think we're growing very nicely and figuring out our Tawasin way in the way our programs are moving. So I just wanted to find out a little bit more information about the food bank, because I think that's something positive. I know we have families that struggle. I think I got a bag of grapes and it was $10, you know, like stuff like that. It's really hard for young families with children. They're working hard. Some of them working 2 jobs. I think the food bank, it's nice to take that stigma away and put it towards the community farm. It's exciting. So can you talk a little bit more about the food bank and how that works? Hechka.
Hechka Legislature Kuyakuya, I love your comment about removing the stigma from the food bank, and that moving it to the community farm is about food sharing and supporting each other. And we just want, during today's economic, you know, reality where food is so expensive, we really would like to see our people being helped out. And I appreciate all the comments that have come so far regarding this particular schedule. Lakwia, would you like to answer, please?
Hechka Squeakquel and Hechka Dayton for the Feather. Yeah, that's one of the really good reasons why we wanted to move the food bank out of and put it into the community farm. And we seen an increase in members really accessing. We're trying to come up with a different name other than the food bank, like community kitchen or community cupboard. But we're trying to find something that's to remove the stigma from it. But we have seen an increase in accessing that program, and we found that increase was like November and December, when it was really those colder months. There wasn't a lot of community fishing, and the community farm wasn't distributing all the fresh produce that they were creating or growing. So we've seen a real big intake in over the winter months, and it's starting to decrease now. So the food bank, we're hoping to run it out, or I'm just going to call it food bank for lack of a better word now. But we're hoping once the church is completed, we're going to create more of like a community kitchen of some sort, where we're going to have workshops with a lot of the produce from the community farm. We want to do canning, teach members how to do all the canning and preserving all of the produce from the farm, and everyone can come together. We can learn how to make spaghetti sauce one week and then have it in the community kitchen. And if someone needs, dinner, they can come in and access that, the fresh produce and all the food that we've been preserving. So we're really trying to expand that. And it's going really well. And the staff are really quite excited about this program. And so there's a lot of really great things coming out of it. I hope that was enough.
Hechka Lakwia. Alrighty, okay. Sultanat, I'll take your question, and then I'll take one more question after that. So, and then we'll proceed on to a vote. Hechka.
Hechka for the Feather and Hechka Squeakquel. And just to follow up for the question about the food bank. When you're talking about like a community kitchen, this type of thing, when I worked in Vancouver for the school board, they had neighborhood houses, and this is what it sounds like a neighborhood house or and finding a good name for it, right? So, and they do have exactly what you're talking about, learning how to cook, life skills, and that type of thing. So my question was, for right now, they're at the food banks at the at the farm. So do the people go to the farm to get their food, or is it delivered? Because that's a way out, you know, because if they don't have a car or whatever. Yes, okay, Hajka.
Hajka Legislator Lakwia.
Hajka Squeakquel and Hajka Dayton for the Feather. The food bank per se is not actually at the farm. We are doing it out of a space wherever we can find space here right now, because we don't have a designated space for that. And we're just waiting for the church to be completed so that we can run it out of there. But yeah, so that we're hoping that'll be done soon. And we do deliveries. Yeah.
Hajka. One last question from a legislator. Thank you, legislators, for your questions, your curiosities, and your contributions, your thoughtful ideas and consideration, and your gratitude for the moving forward of this program. A couple of years back, this legislative table said that we wanted to put more money towards the Health and Social Services program, and we really are walking our talk. Comments that have been provided today by legislators acknowledging that the programs are advancing, and we're working to make better and more relevant and meaningful services for health and social services to our members. So it's good to see this work continuing, and that this budget is building on that work. So Hajka, to you and your staff, and your existing staff and your new ones. We'll have to have you come up and say hello in a bit. You promised an introduction. Can we take a moment to do that before we move into the schedule? Lakwia?
Thank you, Squeakquel, and thank you, Dayton, for the feather. Moira, would you like to come up here, and so we can put you on the spot? This is Moira Gowans. She's been actually with TFN for a couple of years in a contracted services position as a clinical counselor, and she has a master's in social work and is very excited. She's built lots of really great relationships with our staff, our members already. So some of you may or may not know her, but this is Moira, and I will maybe get Dayton to pass her the feather.
Misa Kukwela, Moira.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I was not expecting to come up here. I just want to hold my hands up to all of you and thank you for allowing me to be here on your lands. And I am Dene from the Northwest Territories, but I've never had the honor of stepping foot on my traditional territories. So it's been such a blessing to watch the little ones speak their language and perform their dances and know their language, and just a sense of community. I've worked in the field for over 20 years. I've worked on pretty much every front line. I hold safe space for people, and I was gifted with this work by deciding to live. So I don't take anything for granted, and it's been such an honor to work with Chrislyn. I definitely wasn't planning on accepting this position because it wasn't what I thought where I was going to be, but I'm very honored and grateful to be here, so thank you.
OCM Hajka, thank you so much, Moira. We're very grateful to have you join our team formally, and we've heard nothing but great reviews about your contribution to the work so far, and we wish you continued success in joining our family and our work. So, Hajka. All right, Lakwia, we're going to now move to I'm going to ask Legislator Halka Mattia to read the motion to move Schedule 9 to the third reading, and then I'll ask for a mover and a seconder, and then I'll ask for a vote in favor, and then a not in favor, and then I will ask Legislator Tehuilam for his verbal assent or dissent to the motion. Legislator Halka Mattia.
Hajka Squeakquel and Hajka for the feather, Dayton. Motion to move Schedule 9, the Health and Social Development Schedule of Bill 001-2024 to third reading. Whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature has the authority under Section 5.12C of the Constitution Act to enact the Tsawwassen laws, and whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature under Section 24(2) of the Financial Administration Act must approve the annual budget, and whereas under the Legislative Rules and Procedures Manual, Section 25, each bill must receive 3 separate readings, and whereas the legislature resolved on February 15, 2024, that each schedule of Bill 001-2024 be reviewed, debated, and voted on separately during second reading. Therefore, be it moved that the Tsawwassen Legislature move Schedule 9, the Health and Social Development Schedule, to third reading.
Hitchka Legislature, do I have a mover? Legislature Marianne, do I have a seconder? Legislature Laqualia, all in favor? Unanimous at the table. Legislature Twilam,
I'm in favor, thank you.
passed unanimously. Thank you, legislators, for that hard work. The motion has been carried. Moving to our next item, Schedule 1, Natural Resources, Schedule of Bill 001, 2024. Are there any legislatures in conflict? All right. I'd like to call upon Manager of Natural Resources, Crystal Lockhart, that's Crystal with a K, coming to present on Schedule 11. Welcome, Crystal.
Hitchka Squeakle CM.
There we go. Hitchka.
Hitchka Dayton for the feather. All right, so with respect to Schedule 11, I'm going to take you through it. I've never used this clicker yet, so. So you'll see here, with respect to the previous year's budget and 2022, it's gone up and down a bit. That's not necessarily as a result of any changes in TFN's core funding, but more so motivated by external funding grants that are related to different projects and work that we've been trying to establish within the department. So moving on to the next slide. Oops. You'll see just a bit more of a breakdown with respect to the revenue. As you can see, those changes, as I mentioned previously, are motivated predominantly by external funding grants. So you'll see, though, year over year, for the most part, it stayed somewhat the same. And so I'll delve in a little bit deeper in the next slides with regards to what we have planned for this upcoming fiscal. So with the breakdown with respect to 2023-2024 versus 2024-2025, you'll find that there is an increase in our core budget, which is attributed mostly to the cost of living increase, the COLA. There is a 17,000 increase in fisheries, a 71,000 increase in wildlife and migratory birds, a 52,000 increase in gathering, and 68,500 in culture and community. So you'll just see that breakdown there, but in detail. So with respect to the fisheries program, this relatively small increase is attributed to an increase in external grant funding and a decrease in the associated BC SRIF funding for this year. With respect to the wildlife and migratory birds program, the cost is attributed to multiple workshops related to feather harvesting, beating, the consultation for the development of key biocultural areas, a new robust hunting program that focuses on training and planning for hunting access in different areas of TFN traditional territory and beyond, and a hunting-focused priorities community workshop. That's one thing that we've heard a lot from members is with respect to fishing, because there's less opportunities, being able to harvest other items that were key and traditional to TFN way of life is becoming more of a priority and interest. So with respect to the gathering program, the increase of 52,000 is attributed to hiring a company to develop a plant identification app for members' phones and for culturally important plant species, as well as a booklet for elders and those non-technically inclined. We're also wanting to increase our capacity to have more efficient plant working group meetings, an in-season responsible harvesting workshop, which has been highlighted by legislators previously, and increased support for mapping and plant propagation. We're also looking at having a consultant prepare a report on priority culturally relevant species and protected area interests That's something that we've also heard as a result of our community surveys that we had distributed. There's a lot of interest in that in the community. So the increase in cost for the culture and community program of $68,500 is attributed to an increase in spending for the first fish ceremony, 2 new annual natural resources related knowledge community events that we're working in conjunction with the Language and Culture Department about. We want to be able to have something that's all encompassing of different teachings throughout the year. And then we're also looking at workshops related to potential new harvest areas and new green space creation, a community field trip, and the hiring of a consultant. Now, this consultant will create a feasibility study for a new potential dock site, facilitate community workshops regarding it, and assist with the development of an alternative moorage plan until new permanent facilities can be determined. This is something that, by far, I would think is one of the strongest things that we've heard in previous discussions with the community. So that's why we're going about this route in a more holistic way to get the answers that we need for our members. And that's the end of my presentation. Heitske.
Thank you so much, Crystal, for your presentation, and you figured out that new remote just fine. No problems there. I will now open the floor and invite legislators to present any questions or comments to Crystal. Legislator Sultanat.
Heitske, Squeakquel, and Crystal, and Feather Runner. Thanks for the presentation. In regards to new harvest gathering areas, what are you actually doing to identify the gathering? Are we talking about, like, say, Pitt Lake? That's part of our territory, and all these other places. So can you update us? And there's a question, but I lost the word that I was going to ask in regards to the resources we had meetings about before, but I'll figure that one out. So that's in regards to, that's the feasible study for the gathering areas and feather harvesting and the beating. So you're talking about the beating of the feathers for that, okay. It just seems like a lot of money for all of this here. So, and I don't have my detailed, like budget for that. So I'm just wondering, for $71,000, I'm just wondering what the heck. And the bicultural areas, I guess you're talking about when you guys did a field trip to the islands. And, like I brought that up before, it's going to cost a lot of money just to clean up our area. Okay, Heitske.
Heitske, Legislator Sultanat, for all of those thoughtful questions and comments. Crystal?
Heitske to Dayton, the Feather Runner, Heitske to Legislator Sultanat, and Heitske to the Squeakquel. Regarding the harvest areas, Pitt Lake, yes, is definitely one of them that we had identified. With respect to this, we're really trying to formulate the basis of having not only just the workshops and being able to have them on lands, but also having more constructive working groups, in the sense that we found that in previous consultations the most effective means for communication and whatnot was all-day events or ways in which members could get involved in different ways. And not only that, but bringing in people that want to communicate and work together. And so having these connections with different entities like, as you referenced, Pitt Lake and traditional areas there, that's going to require a bit of more work in terms of working together with, for example, Catesy, or on the island, making sure that we understand the consultation and protocol associated with island nations if we want to harvest in that area, right? And so another thing with respect to the costing is, I know we had envisioned a lot of this work in previous years as well, and there had been some associated capacity issues, and as such, the increase is to also facilitate the utilization of having outside people to assist us as well, as we only have 5 people on our staff, so a lot of this work sometimes is a bit beyond just our own department as it stands. Heitske.
Heitske, Crystal. Legislator Tehuilam.
Thank you. I just wanted to say I'm glad to see the dike closed off for harvesting brant for our hunters to go out there and harvest brant. It's a short little window that they have to go and hunt the brant before they migrate, and just glad that we're able to do that for our hunters. And good work there on closing it off to make sure that people are safe out there. Obviously, a lot of people like to walk out there and everything. So, yeah, thank you for that, Heichka.
Heichka Tehuilam. Legislator Taylor?
Heichka Dayton and Heichka Crystal for their presentation. Just want to say how pleased I am to see about the proposed hunting program. Heard that a lot in the community, especially with the youth wanting to learn more, and it kind of ties into my resolution. So I'm sorry if it's repetitive, me bringing up my resolution, but just really good to see the new workshops too. I think it's a really good approach, and it'll be well received in the community. I like the idea for the feather harvesting and the beading, and I've just heard a lot of that in the community wanting to learn more. So thank you, because I know it's been brought up, and here you are bringing it to the table. So thanks, Heichka.
Thank you, Legislator Taylor, and thank you, Legislator Tehuilam, for your positive and supportive comments to encourage our staff with their programming that's working and is successful in meeting our members' needs. Legislator Squamia?
Heichka Squeakquel and Heichka for the Feather. I was just wondering if the Natural Resource Department is working with the community farm at all with culturally important plant species, possibly harvesting some there, or, yeah, okay, thank you.
Heichka Legislator Squamia Crystal?
Heichka Dayton for the Feather, and Heichka Legislator for your question, Heichka Squeakquel. Yeah, actually, I'm very excited about this because this is actually just something that's happened within the last week. So we've been working on our plant propagation program, and we had found that we were limited in space as well as additional support in terms of being able to grow. And so we had a meeting recently with the manager of the farm school there, and they received support internally from us to be able to allow an area for us to do the plant propagation of native plant species at the farm school. So what that means is that likelihood for success is going to be a lot greater than if we were running it out of our little fisheries department building. So we're really excited about that because the people at the farm school as well have a tremendous interest and background knowledge on native plant species. So the idea behind propagating and eventually even the potential of turning it into maybe like a nursery for distribution for members or having the ability for others to learn about these important species is going to be improved, the success rate as a result of this partnership. So that's a great question. Heichka, thank you.
Heichka, Crystal, it's always good to have staff being excited about their programming, and it's really always really great to have collaboration and our teams working together. We really do depend on some of those natural species. With cold season, I know that there's a lot of traditional medicines and teas that we could really be using in our healing process right now. So something to look forward to. Legislator Kwiakwia.
Heichka Squeakquel CM, Heichka Dayton for the Feather. Thank you, Crystal, for your presentation. I have a couple of things. Just first of all, I'm just wondering, on a positive note, the calendars were really awesome. That was a really good program, and just wondering if there's going to be more coming out, because I've heard that some members and houses didn't get them, and just really looking forward to that program continuing. And I think everybody got excited seeing their photos of families in there, and some families were, kind of missed the boat. So hoping to keep continuing that. So that's really positive and was really cool to see. So just wondering if we could get some more calendars for those who didn't get any. And then two questions. I'll ask them both, I guess. Just wondering if your program for the past, I don't know how many years, your program would allow donations of ducks and would take care of that resource and distribute to members or use it for our elders program just want to ensure that that program continues. I know it was important, and there was some confusion this year with some of that, and maybe it's lack of training or understanding in regards to some of our cultural protocols. So I just want to ensure that that program continues, because I know that our elders do like to have that resource. So that's one question. And then the other one, and I know that I sound like a broken record, but I'll continue to bring it up until we have our access to the water, just in regards to wondering, I still don't understand why, maybe you could just enlighten me, why we need a feasibility study for the boat, for, what is it? For the moorage and all of that. I don't understand why we need a feasibility study. Right now, the city of Delta is replacing their ferry boat launch. I'm hoping that, and I know I brought it up as well at a workshop, you know, maybe we could be working with BC Ferries. Our only access is through there. We can't get through that gate. There's no keys. And I know I sound like a broken record, but I would just love to see some focus on that, a little bit more focus on gaining that access to the water. And I know that you and Sheila work towards that, but if you can remind me why we have to wait when we've waited for almost 5 years to even have any moorage for our fishermen, that'd be great. Hajka.
Hajka Kugakuya for your questions and comments. Crystal?
Hajka Dayton for the Feather, Hajka Squeakquel, and Hajka Legislator for your comments. So I will address the comment about the calendars first. We do have more money in our upcoming fiscal this year for that. I think what we've indicated as is a more expansive throughout the year program similar to that. It would follow the same format, but we would like to try to incorporate a bit more information on each month as well. And so we reached out to the Language and Culture Department about different little blurbs that follow what they had done with respect to their calendar as well, which was a big influence on that. So yeah, it's definitely going to be something that we continue. The costing associated with it to do such a high quality print job was somewhat substantial. However, I think we can definitely absorb it in the budget based on what we have for it. And yeah, we were really happy to hear the positive feedback and the support from member harvesters. I think it is a really good initiative, so I'm happy to hear it was well received. So regarding point number 2 about the ducks and the hunting, as you know, we've had significant turnover in our department within the last couple of years, right? And so instinctively understanding how to process wild game, for example, is not one of the skill sets that was inherent with the hiring process. The way that around it that we've established, though, is there are staff at TFN that are aware of how to do that. And so we've reached out to them now, and they said that they can assist us in the future when we do get more. So I don't want to say the person's name because I don't think I'm supposed to, but yeah, we've had that conversation. And so, yeah, this will be amended moving forward. So that's that one. And then regarding the dock site, I know we have been through this on multiple occasions. And I think it comes down to 2 different things. At least initially, when we were scoping out the replacement costs, it was prior to COVID, right? And as a result, the initial costing associated to even do a somewhat minor kind of replacement, there's a matter of doing it properly versus doing it quickly. And so as a result, when the contractors we reached out to gave us a few different quotes, there was some discrepancies. And the thought was going down that route for that location, unless it was done properly, we could see an issue with sustainability of the site long term. And that was a real concern, especially in light of some of the other considerations. So that's why the thought about the feasibility study came into play. I don't think it negates the idea of us building an entirely new infrastructure if we had to. It's just whether or not that's the site. With respect to different access and different locations and whatnot, we've had discussions as well that potentially this is an economic development opportunity in which we could be partnering to look at options there. Whether that means purchasing different locations or specific areas. I do know that a little bit of it with respect to the capacity to develop it, it's also kind of tiny beyond the scope of Schedule 11 as well, so it's going to require some interdepartmental collaboration. But no, I hear all your points. They are valid, Part of this work to figure out the best solution is going to involve specific targeted consultation with member harvesters about what they want and what works best for them and documenting that. So that's one thing that I've been informed on, which should be part of this process. So this is something that will be a priority for this fiscal year. Absolutely.
Hajka Kwiakwia, do you have a follow-up?
Hajka Squeakle CM Hajka Dayton. Thank you, Crystal. Just one last thing in regards to, it was a suggestion for me that we work more closely with BC Ferries. You know, those lands are just polluted and littered by people, and just that access is really difficult, and I don't see the relationship as a positive one. So just encouraging that as well. Just a note. Hajka.
Crystal, would you like to comment?
Yeah. Hajka Dayton for the Feather. Hajka Squeakle, Hajka Legislator. I can tell you definitively that there has begun a bit more of an established relationship now with respect to BC Ferries. It falls under the portfolio of TRT, but I have been involved in some of the conversations initially. So perhaps there can be a bit more on that relationship coming up in the future. I think it's something that is definitely on TRT's radar. So Hajka for your comment.
Hajka Legislature Marianne.
Hajka Squeakle for the Feather. Hajka Squeakle, and thank you, Dayton, for the feather. I have more of a curiosity. It wasn't really a part of the presentation, but I'm wondering how the trapping program for the invasive green crab went. And I see that the budget went down, so I'm just, because of equipment being procured, but I'm just wondering how that went last year.
Hajka Legislature Marianne. Crystal?
Hajka Dayton for the Feather, Hajka Squeakle, and Hajka Legislator Marianne. So the green crab trapping program for this past year, we only had one instance in which we did that work, in which we collaborated with representatives from DFO that came over. We were, as I said, I referenced it earlier, we were severely hampered by capacity issues this past fiscal, so we weren't able to actually direct this in more than one opportunity. And so the way that around that, at least that we've found, is this year we're going to try to offer more opportunities for members to get involved in terms of education, honorariums for participating in the work, and targeting specific times in which to do it. There are nations out there that are doing it all year round. We simply do not have the capacity for that. And so in discussions with external kind of knowledge holders on the topic of green crab, they recommended that we target our trapping specifically for the months of May, June, and July. And as a result, we've basically, because we've procured most of our equipment and are securing a bit more via an external funding grant through TRT, you're going to see more of it in this coming fiscal. So Hajka, for your question.
Hajka Crystal. Legislator Pilichia. Forgive me, actually, Legislature Sultanat was prior to that. Feather Runner, could you please pass the feather to Legislature Sultanat? My apologies.
Okay, Hajka Squeakle and Feather Runner. Just a comment about the calendars. There are some in the Elder Center because your son came by the other day and he noticed it. So just to say that there are, so pick one up tomorrow for him. Okay, Hajka.
Hajka, for that little announcement of Sultanat, I appreciate that. Legislature Pilichia, now it's really your turn.
Hajka Squeakle, Hajka Dayton for the feather. Just a few comments. For the beaded feathers and stuff, those workshops, I'd like to see those working together with, group workshops between natural resources, the language and culture, and even the youth to kind of come together and hold those workshops together with the community would be nice. The plant identification app sounds really interesting, and I think, again, working with the youth. I know my son would be interested in the propagation. He's really into that. His room is full, wall to wall, of different plants and stuff, so I think some of the youth would get really into that. And then again, the calendar that you guys did was really great. And the end of year celebration, I can't remember what you guys called it, but you had the salmon distribution. That was really quite enjoyed, and I know a lot of people in the community had some really good comments about that. So, Heichka.
Thank you so much for your comments and your thoughts. Crystal, would you like to respond?
Heichka Dayton for the Feather, Heichka Squeakle, and Heichka for your comments, legislator. Yeah, one thing that we've really heard, at least in terms of different meetings that we've gone to with other nations and what they've been doing to try to foster stewardship, is that youth component, right? And as a result, I think part of building it includes just starting from the ground floor, right? And also having people that are willing to teach. And that's one thing that I think we've had a real strength in our department, is we have people that are passionate and care about these things. And so I think that makes it a lot easier to communicate to members, especially our youth. And so this is something that we would enthusiastically involve ourselves in, and being able to work with the youth department for these opportunities so they can understand and also take that knowledge forward. One of the ideas that was kind of core behind the Plan Tap, and when you referenced it, it kind of triggered something for me, was that knowledge transfer, right? We have it in our elders, and we want to pass it down and also protect it. And so having it via an app with password access and login information ensures that it's not shared by anyone else, but it remains with our people. And so I think having these new sorts of initiatives and ideas, it's a great way for knowledge transfer. And so, yeah, that's one of the core kind of elements of what stewardship is in our opinion with our department. So, Heichka, for your comments.
Heichka, everyone, thank you very much for all of your questions and curiosities. I see, oh, good, at the last minute here, Legislator Twilam raised his feather to ask a question, Legislature.
Heichka Squeakle and Heichka Crystal for your presentation. I just had a question on, I guess, projections for the salmon return this year, and just wondering what the numbers are like. I forget. I haven't heard anything on that, and also wondering, it'd be nice to see some sort of mending nets course or workshop for members. I think that'd be a great skill to start learning and utilizing in the community. And that's it for now, or I guess that's the last one. So thank you, Heichka.
Heichka, Legislature Twilam, I think that last comment really picks up on Legislature Kwiakwio's comment about a dock and a shed and all that kind of work would be really really beneficial. But I'll give you an opportunity to respond, Crystal, please. Heichka.
Heichka Dayton for the Feather, Heichka Squeakle, and Heichka Legislator for your comments. So with respect to projections, as you know, I don't want to give the perception that everything is rosy with respect to Pacific salmon, because everyone in this room knows that's not the case. It's in-season run management. So what that means is, based on surveys, we don't really know what the established season will be like for Chinook until about a month out. So that's typically, for now at least, it's looking like early June or late June into July, as we know. And so, yeah, more of the same in that way. With respect to sockeye, there definitely will not be a sockeye opening this year. I think that it's something that we've kind of resigned ourselves to, unfortunately. But we're also advocating for more in terms of DFO looking at how we fix this solution, because I know we're all tired of hearing these sort of bad glum projections, right? And we're looking at how we can actually move from that to a more favorable outcome. And so, yeah, I wish I had better news on that front. With regards to amending net course, I think that's a brilliant idea. And I think, at least with respect to what we have in terms of understanding and knowledge holders, I think there would be a lot of people in the community that would be willing to contribute that in that way. Another one that we've heard as well from some members was techniques for knot tying, even with people that are new to fishing, going back and understanding how to do something as basic as tying a knot, I think is invaluable information. And so, yeah, I think this is something we have the capacity to be able to do this year as well. So it's something we can also bring up at our next NRC committee meeting, which is coming up very soon. So thank you for your comments. And yeah, I do appreciate that. And I think we can definitely take your suggestion into play for this year. Heichka.
Heichka Crystal, Legislature Qualia.
Haichka Squeakle and Dayton for the feather. Thank you for your presentation, Crystal. There's a few things, mostly just comments, but when we're looking at under the wildlife and migratory birds, and it says there's at least 3 signs with educational information to be on TFN on the foreshore. And I know this is repetitive, I always bring it up, but including something along the lines of like help protect our foreshore. And I know it's really difficult you can't cut people off from enjoying the foreshore, but thinking of protected plants as usual, you know, I'm always thinking about that. Under just promoting protection of resources, identifying, documenting everything on our lands. Yeah, I'm really excited for the new hunting and gathering exploration of other areas that we can utilize, maybe outside of Tsawwassen, just in our territory or even farther. So cool. I think your department is doing a really great job. So, thank you.
Haichka Legislature, would you like to comment, Crystal?
Haichka Dayton for the feather, Haichka Squeakle, and Haichka Legislator for your comments. The matter of signage, we're actually getting closer to an established kind of solution. We've had consultation at the NRC and at our plant working groups, as you know, and we found some really effective signage actually nearby in Boundary Bay. And so we reached out to Metrovan, who administers Boundary Bay, and asked them the supplier that they utilize to do that. We also believe that the shape of the signs will actually lend to a bit more attention as well, because they're diamond shape as opposed to square. And they kind of draw your attention a bit more than the traditional square ones. We've also kind of eyeballed really good areas in which we can put them. So that's been part of the comments as well. We have put money in the budget this year for an increase in terms of signage, but we also had the plan to actually try to find something as well before the end of this fiscal, because we understand that it's a priority. There is signage just in the plant area now about it being a sensitive area. However, we still get reports periodically that people are going in there with their dogs and whatnot. And so it's tough, because other than perhaps the possibility of doing something like doing what's at the member park with respect to the keypad, understanding how we can keep people from disturbing that area is probably an even bigger question. But at least on the signage component, I am happy to report that we're closer to a final result with that. So Haichka, for your comments.
Haichka, thank you, everyone. It's certainly a big job in protecting our foreshore and instilling a sense of protection and environmental care and pride in that foreshore is a big job, I think, that all of us take very seriously. Thank you so much for your presentation and answering all the questions, Crystal. Thank you for your input and your questions, legislators. I think I will now I will ask Legislature Squamia to read the motion to move Schedule 11 to third reading, and then I'll ask for a mover and a seconder, and then I'll ask for a raise of hands and vote to vote in favor or not in favor, and then I'll ask Legislature Tehuilam for his verbal vote. Legislature Squamia?
Haichka Squeakle and Haichka for the feather. Motion to move Schedule 11, the Natural Resources Schedule of Bill 001-2024 to third reading. Whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature has the authority under Section 5.12C of the Constitution Act to enact Tsawwassen laws, and whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature under Section 24.2 of the Financial Administration Act must approve the annual budget, and whereas the Legislature Rule and Procedures Manual Section 25, each bill must receive 3 separate readings, and whereas the legislature resolved on February 15th, 2024, that each schedule of Bill 001-2024 be reviewed, debated, and voted on separately during second reading. Therefore, being moved that the Tsawwassen Legislature move Schedule 11, the Natural Resources Schedule, to third reading.
Haichka Legislature. Do I have a mover? Legislature Lequolia, seconder. Legislature Taylor, all in favor? Okay, you can put your hands down. That was unanimous at the table. Legislature Tehuilam.
In favor.
Thank you very much, Legislature. This motion has been carried and this unanimously. Haichka, good work. Thank you, Crystal. Just a question before, what we have left on our agenda is the Economic Development Schedule 13, and then the legislature resolutions, which are 4 of them. Do you want to take a break now before we move into the Economic Development schedule? Or should we push on and finish this schedule and then do the resolutions? Push on? All right, we're pushing on. Guess what that means, Ryan? We're moving now to Schedule 13, the Economic Development Schedule of Bill 001, 2024. Are there any legislatures that need to declare a conflict? I don't think so. I'd now like to invite Ryan Dom, the Manager of Economic Development, to present his schedule. Ryan?
Hajka Squeakle Squam and Hajka Feather Runner. So I am privileged to be the Manager of Economic Development, and I'm honored to present the Economic Development Budget as part of Schedule 13 tonight. So for the first slide, what I'd like to present is some just general trends. First is the actuals. As you'll notice in the budgets, traditionally, we've always spent less than is budgeted if we don't need those funds. What we do is budget for opportunities should they arise. And that's when we spend the money. So you can see there's a steep rise in budget, but we'll carry on the trend of only spending if it's required. From this side, looking at specific numbers, further to what I said on the last slide, we've only spent about $400,000 to date on our actual budget. And then as far as going forwards on the budget, while the budget expenditure is expected to increase by about $600,000, which is about a 54% increase, the budgeted revenues are expected to decrease by a greater amount, about $800,000. So even though we're asking for more money, we're predicting to generate increasing revenues for the nation. So speaking generally about the economic development budget, the core part of the budget is wages, contracted services, make quite a bit of what we spend our money on. Thus far over the last year, we've made quite a bit of progress with department staffing. We finalized a strategic plan, and we've supported numerous member businesses. The other item I think that's important to highlight is it's always important to support our local entrepreneurs and business people. So we've increased the amount of funding through our small business development program from about $150,000 in funding to $300,000. So we have opportunities to fund those businesses and help them grow. This year, so far year to date, we've transferred about $600,000 in JV profits to the nation, which is about a $225,000 increase over the prior year. And just to give a little bit of detail on those member businesses, so for small business grants, we've issued 4 grants worth $7,500. We've issued an equity match in the amount of $50,000, and we've issued a 50% forgivable loan for about $75,000. So in actuality, we've issued about $155,000 in funding and budgeted about $150,000. So we're pretty much on track. Going forwards, we're going to do a couple things to improve that performance. And one of them is the monies up front on the screen are TFN monies. Going forward, we want to take those monies and use them as equity to leverage Talhote Aboriginal Capital Corporation funding. So we're going to take a little bit of Tsawwassen money, use it to generate a greater funding through the broader programs. I guess the other item that I think is super important to myself, at least, is as we build capacity in the department, we'd like to do greater outreach with membership about consultation, about what sort of programs we have. I think we're well aware that this department is to serve the benefit of the nation and the members, so we'd like to do that going forwards. So with respect to finding positions, we've posted the position for the development analyst. We're going to be looking to hiring over the next month, but we've already hired that administrative assistant, and we're very happy with some of the hires and folks we brought on, whether they're consultants or hires. In the background, we've also increased the number of consultants to give us depth. We had about 2 that we relied on regularly. Now we're getting close to about 6 that all have different expertise and specialties. Using the consultants at this stage gives us a lot of flexibility to only use them when we have the opportunities that needs those skill sets. I think it's well worth our time to find the right employees who are the right fit with TFN. I shared this previously, but it's a little quote article that I came across in December last year through the Government Finance Officers Association of BC. They completed a survey that finance professionals working in local government, one of the notable findings is that 34% of the respondents, so the greatest number, their number one issue is to hire qualified staff. So this is not uncommon, and we're experiencing the same challenges, but I think we're finding the right people by taking our time. Sorry about that. Have to flip the paper. So core, what's our core responsibilities? In a nutshell, I think we're focused on leasing Tsawwassen lands for the best possible value. There's a limited supply, so we're trying to make sure we do our due diligence and do it right. And at the same time, we're looking at opportunities that generate revenue streams for the benefit of all members. I've kind of touched on some of the highlights what we did in the past year under core, such as our strategy and hiring. The other things that we've done is we've developed and formalized procedures that have helped us improve performance. And when I say improve performance, we're more efficient and we're more effective in delivering those services. It's really a foundational element that allows us to all the other programs to work in our department. And with respect to those other areas, we have 3 that kind of summarize what we're looking at in the year ahead. Business development, innovation and sustainability, and land development. All of these 3 areas are being provided to me, either through council or direction or strategic plans. So we make sure that we build off of what's the direction being given by the community. One other key point is I've tried to prioritize what can be done in any single year. However, the priority is only specific to the time frame of the upcoming year. It doesn't say which one's most important in the long term. And the example that I've given before is we can only focus on one thing at a time. There's limited resources. So as I'm going to say, industrial lands are our current focus. But in the long term, it's likely agricultural lands will be very important as well to sustain the community and food security. I think the important point is do them properly as we go through them. So that being said, I'll lead into the industrial lands development. So this process, we kicked it off in the fall of last year, and we're on track to complete the engagement with KPMG, and we've termed it an employment industrial lands development strategy. The goal for that program is to generate the greatest wealth for the next 7 generations of Tsawwassen members, while at all times respecting TFN cultural values and being stewards of the environment. So that's kind of the nutshell of what we're trying to do. Further to that, though, is we have a number of follow-up items. So one was exploring short-term leasing and real estate brokerage program, set some money aside for that. The other one would be implementation, some of the lessons learned and recommendations from the strategic work we're doing, and also set up a real estate strategy and frameworks for the going ahead and just building best practices within the department. And I think that 2 items that could summarize a lot of these is we're moving forward with the best interest of members at the forefront, and we're trying, it's opposed to being reactive to folks coming to us with proposals. We want to be proactively saying this is what works for Tsawwassen. So the next category is business development. So there's numerous items here. We want to work with member businesses to develop their business plans. That's key because we want to bring them along for the journey. Also, we know there's numerous major projects happening in the territory, and we want TFN, whether it's our government businesses or our member businesses, to take advantage. And to do that, I think, we need a strategy to move forward. So we're looking at strategy with our territory, and we're also building relationships with our neighboring, the neighboring nations. Need more hands. So the next item is innovation and sustainability. So this is the third one down on the list. Again, it's very, very important, but it's moving through that series of priorities. So again, it's our industrial lands, and then I think a big focus on supporting member businesses. But again, we want to build in innovation, sustainability, and we're chatting the other day, it's about keeping our options open and allowing us to have access to resources and not block off opportunities for future generations. And further, the other one is below that is an opportunity to generate a TFN-owned business. For the time being, I guess some of the action items there would be is to clarify what is the appropriate structure to run a business underneath the government. I think that's very important to set the right foundations. And another one would be to identify the business opportunities that make sense for TFN. If we go into any sort of business, we want to have a competitive advantage. There has to be a reason why we're going to win and be successful. And again, finally, as I said at the beginning, even though it's at the end, I think this one's near and dear to members' hearts, and we would like to do a very good job of it. And it's just sequencing things based on our capacity. There's definitely a finite supply of land left to lease, and we're cognizant of that. And I think the other thing is on this strategy is there's been our lands department's done a lot of very good work already, and we want to build off of it, and they've done a lot of consultation. Heichka.
Heichka, Ryan, for your presentation. We really appreciate your thoughtful consideration of how the budget is going to move forward in this fiscal. I'd like to open up the floor to our legislators who wish to make any comments or have any questions regarding this schedule. Legislators? Legislator Sultanat?
Okay, Heichka, Sweetgold, Feather Runner, and Ryan. I like your icons. You know, like, and it's well presented. Great. But my question is, you know, I think about a year and a half ago, we had a consultant come in. I think his name was Brandon Gabriel. I'm wondering if he's going to be coming back in to do a follow-up, you know, like for, I guess it was for the artists, but it's like small business. And, you know, because he, with a lot of technical stuff. And for the agriculture, do you know how much land is left in the agricultural land reserve? I think that's it for now. Thanks.
Heichka Legislature Sultanat. Ryan? I see that Crystal's sneaking up behind you too.
Heichka Feather Runner and Heichka Legislator and Squeakquel. I did hear Brandon Gabriel was quite well received. I'll take that away if that's something. It's good to hear that, and we can look on bringing that to.
Wonderful, thank you. Crystal, would you like to add to that? Laquia?
Sorry for that awkward little moment there, but yes, so we have reached out to Brendan Gabriel to see if he's interested in coming back. So stay tuned. We're just waiting for a response.
Heichka, thank you. Ryan, would you like to answer the rest of Sultanat's question?
Absolutely, Heichka. So I don't know how to, it'd be pretty quick. I can find out after this presentation how much agricultural lands are left, but I can say that for phase 2 of the industrial lands, we have about 180 acres left and about 160 acres are net developable. And just to say my head's in this industrial lands is focused, but I definitely will get you that number. Heichka.
Heichka, Ryan. Legislature Taylor?
Heichka Dayton and Heichka Ryan for the presentation. No questions, just a comment that it's just really wonderful to see from previous workshops that you've done with the community, budget workshops with us, that your focus this year or this next fiscal is, maybe potential business for TFN. More revenue for our government, I think, is fantastic. So I'm really interested to see what that could look like, and if you have any ideas, like would they be kind of like community engagements on that, family meetings? I know we kind of had some already workshops. I want to say it was at the lands department where we were writing on those posters. So a lot of great ideas came from there. So it's just really good to see that that's being looked at this year, as well as your focus for our competitiveness for the industrial lands. I just really respect what you said about getting the best thing that we can here, because we're such a shortage for land in the Lower Mainland. I think that we got some prime land for the next few years. So Heichka for the report, very interesting. I enjoyed it.
Heichka Legislature. Ryan, do you have a response of any kind?
Heichka Feather Runner, Heichka Squeakle, and Heichka Legislature. For the consultation, we have some different ideas floating around. Nothing's set officially yet, but we've kind of put some place markers in. What I can say is a theme that we've been chatting around is meeting members where they are. So it could be a unique way to do it. I'm not exactly sure. Well, I have some ideas, but that is the theming, meeting members, how they want to be consulted on the terms they want to be consulted on, as opposed to the way that we want to present. So that's the theming that we're after. Heichka.
Heichka Ryan, Legislature Sultanate.
Heichka Squeakle. I changed my mind. Thank you.
That is your prerogative, Legislature Sultanate. Are there any other questions for Ryan with respect to Schedule 13? Legislature Kuyakuya.
2 questions. Can you, I might have missed it, I had to run out real quick, but I'm not sure if you touched on the board. Just wondering what that looks like and if it's changed from last year. And I'm sorry, I just can't remember. And in regards to joint venture, the JVs, all of the JVs that TFN own, are we still monitoring that? And how many employees, TFN member employees, are with the JVs? Heichka.
Heichka Legislature Kuyakuya Ryan.
Heichka Feather Runner, Heichka Squeakle CM, and Heichka Legislature. With respect to the board, we no longer have an active board of directors. Instead, we have an advisory committee, and that's because for the last several years, we've been running economic development as a government department, closer oversight to the government and that decision-making body. So we're running under that. We currently have on the active members on advisory committee, we have Peter Fassbender, and obviously a retired politician, has business experience. We also have Archie Johnston, who is a former partner at KPMG and brings some financial experience. We currently have a vacancy at the real estate expert that we're looking to fill going forwards. So that's an opportunity. And then Kim Baird fills the role of the member representative in filling that role as well. So that's kind of what advisory is doing right now. With respect to the JVs, we are monitoring them. Currently, we are renewing several of the agreements for 1 year with the understanding that we want to do a full revisit. The idea was just to get those in place to the end of 2024 when we can chat with them again and see what works best for us. Regularly monitoring our MatCon joint venture, communications with BA Blacktop about different business opportunities regularly. And then Garda is looking to extend contracts with the Patella Bridge for security work. So those projects are ongoing. Under the JVs, the only ones that would have employees would be through the MatCon. I don't know currently off the top of my head how many there are. I can take that back under that program. Heichka.
Vice Chair Ryan, any other questions? Or Legislature Saltonat?
Okay, Hedgeka, Squeakle, and Featherrunner. I was debating with myself if I should ask this question. And it's been on my mind since I hear rumors about Tsawwassen Mills and the new owner redeveloping right around the Bass Pro section. So I'm not too sure if I'm allowed to ask about Tsawwassen Mills. And if I am, is it lands or is it ECDF?
Hedgecoast Legislature Saltonat. Ryan?
Heichka CM Featherrunner, Heichka CM Squeakle, and Legislator. So I can share with you from the economic development perspective a couple of items. First is we are not leading any push to redevelop the mall through economic development. That would be through, any process would be through the mall owners. We're strictly focused on industrial lands development and getting that right, not spreading ourselves thin. Where that would come in if it did would be through our regulatory group and lands department. At such time, if that was to come forward, we have a really good relationship. They would, at the appropriate time, tap economic development to get involved and represent Tsawwassen's interests at the appropriate time, but we're certainly not leading it. But at the same time, we realize that we need to have a good relationship with all residents or leaseholders on our lands. So we do have a very good relationship with the mall owners, so we can have those conversations and the ability to influence where we can TFN's perspective and things that we want to move forwards. So actively engaged, building the relationship, but certainly not driving that process. HK.
Chair Ryan. Any other questions, Legislature? Well, thank you for your questions. Thank you for your presentation, Ryan. You have a couple things that you'd like to take back and follow up. I don't know if you wish to follow up by coming at the next meeting or doing that, distributing that by email, but I'll let you take care of how you respond to those outstanding pieces of information. I'd like to move forward by asking Legislature Kwiakwia to read the motion to move Schedule 13 to third reading, and then I'll ask for a mover and seconder, and then I'll ask you to raise your hands in favor or not, and then ask Legislature Tehuilam for his verbal vote. Legislature Kwiakwia.
Heichka Squeakle CM, Heichka Dayton for the Feather, and Heichka Ryan. Motion to move Schedule 13, the Economic Development Schedule of Bill 001-2024 to third reading. Whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature has the authority under Section 5.12C of the Constitution Act to enact Tsawwassen laws, and whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature under Section 24.2 of the Financial Administration Act must approve the annual budget, and whereas under the Legislature Rules and Procedures Manual, Section 25, each bill must receive 3 separate readings. And whereas the Legislature resolved on February 15th, 2024, that each schedule of Bill 001-2024 be reviewed, debated, and voted on separately during second reading. Therefore, be it moved that the Tsawwassen Legislature move Schedule 13, the Economic Development Schedule, to third reading.
Legislature Kwiakwia, do I have a mover? Legislature Halkumatia, do I have a seconder? Legislature Spalak, do it. All in favor, please raise your hand. The table is unanimous. Legislature Tehuilam.
In favor, Heichka.
Heichka, the motion has been carried unanimously. Thank you for your presentation again, Ryan, and thank you for all your contributions, legislatures. The last item on our agenda is the introduction to legislature resolutions. I suggest we take a 7-minute break. Heichka. All right, legislatures, I think that we've had a good break here. Just waiting for one or two more people to regroup. All right, legislators, welcome back. It was a nice little health break to stretch our legs and get a little fresh air. It was nice to look out into the member area sitting and seeing the members listening to us as the sun was shining through the windows and just wrapping them in the warmth of the evening sun. It was quite a lovely sight to observe. We've done some really great work tonight, and I just want to thank you all for continuing to be curious as we've been going through many schedules. Mark had relayed a really bad dad joke that I'm not going to share with you now. Sorry, Mark. You can tell it to them all later. Then you can get more laughs that way if you do it individually. But we're at the fun part. When I say fun, it's also a powerful part of our agenda. And it's the final item of our agenda for tonight. But just because it's the final one does not mean that it's not really important. This is the place where our legislatures listen to the presentations, listen to our members, make observations, and then conceive of a motion to create change at this legislative table. And we've seen the power of legislative resolutions create such great support and guidance and leadership to the staff and to all of our programmings and to Executive Council to move forward to support our people in a good way. So here we are tonight with legislature resolutions, and we have 4 of them. But tonight is only about introducing these resolutions. This is the time when a legislature gets to table their resolutions, and the rest of the table gets to ask any clarifying questions about the resolution itself, but the debate of the resolution will be on Thursday night, and we'll be voting on it then as well. So I would like now to invite any legislatures that have a resolution that they would like to table to raise their hand. And up like a bat out of HE double hockey sticks is Legislature Marianne. Legislature Marianne, you have a resolution that you'd like to table?
Heichka Squeakle Siam and Heichka Dayton for the feather. I do indeed. So, I guess I'll start with a bit of a background. The title of my resolution is Resolution to Establish an Off-Leash Dog Area. Actually, I'll read it first and then I'll go into the background. Whereas, dogs are an important part of many of our members and leasehold resident families, with an average of 160 dog licenses issued on lands per year. And whereas opportunities to exercise off-leash are important for a dog's health and well-being, and can also create social opportunities for members and leasehold residents. And whereas people are currently letting their dogs off-leash in places like Falconway Park and the Dike, which is leading to safety concerns and environmental damage, and a fenced area can help protect the land and keep the community safe. Therefore, be it resolved that legislature request that Executive Council establish an off-leash dog area on Tsawwassen lands. So, a bit of it was behind my home on Falcon Way. I get quite the view on weekends of people having their dogs just throwing the ball for them, and it's a nice sight to see, but I know it's not really something that's allowed. And knowing that during the weekends usually there's not a lot of I can't find the word, like people that are watching out, like our compliance officers watching out for that, And not that I want to be a tattletale on them. I just kind of view it as a need for the community, and also with the area next to our administration building currently, it's a protected area, and that's also an area I see frequently since I work in the administration building as well, having dogs just roaming around where we have our special plants. So that's just a bit of a background, and I look forward to the debate on Thursday.
Hitchcock Legislature, Marianne, are there any clarifying questions with respect to this resolution from any of the legislators? Legislature Sultanat.
Hitchka Squeakquel and Feather Runner and Marianne. You know, it's a good idea. Do you have any vision where you would like to see the doggy park? You know, like, I don't have a dog anymore, but, you know, like, she didn't like to be tied up. So when I took her down to the small dike, I just let her off and stuff. And she was on a leash for a while, you know, when I needed to be. But are you visualizing something down in your neighborhood or across the highway? Okay, Hitchka.
Thank you, Legislature. Legislature Marianne.
Hitchka Sultanat and Hitchka Squeakquel CM. That's a great question. I kind of have a slight vision of where it could be. We currently have 2 sports fields, and I know Sean's probably listening or probably cringing right now about me mentioning that. But we have 2 sports fields. One, a new one directly behind my home that's being utilized the most with people and their dogs. But we also have the other one that's closer behind the new youth center with the other diamond, baseball diamond. So we have 2 of those, but the older one is what I'm speaking of. So where we have that soccer field, I find it's not very well utilized because of the land being so bumpy and, you know, not well. I just overhear that, you know, sports can't really happen there already. So I'm visioning maybe that area being fenced off, and it's quite large as well, and then we can utilize more of the new park. That's my vision. Hitchka.
Hitchka, thank you. Remember that there are clarifying questions with respect to the resolution, and we'll fully debate it on Thursday. But Legislature Tehuilam.
Hitchka Squeakquel and Hitchka Marianne for the resolution. I think it's a great idea as well. I think the new field is being leveled out and things like that, so it can be utilized in a safe manner and everything soon. But I would think I don't know if there's any new parks being developed in the new leaseholder development community, but I don't know if any of those could be I guess what's the word for that? I don't know if those can be put aside for something like that. So anyways, I like the resolution, and it'll be interesting to see where it goes with EC. So thank you very much.
Hitchka Legislature.
Thank you.
Hitchka Legislature Tehuilam. So it seems like there's no clarifying questions regarding the resolution, and that the legislatures are actually probably really excited to get into debate. So why don't we finalize the tabling of this resolution? Marianne is the mover. Do we have a seconder for this resolution? Legislature Laqualia? Thank you. We don't need a vote now that it's tabled. We'll debate it at our next meeting. So thank you for the first resolution of this session, Legislature Marianne. Are there any other legislators who wish to introduce a resolution? Legislature Taylor? You can arm wrestle if you like. Legislature Taylor?
Haichka Squeakle, Haichka Dayton, and Haichka Kuakuya. We put our hand up at the same time, so thank you for allowing me to go ahead of you. And Haichka to Marianne for bringing that forward. Really great idea, and I look forward to the discussion on Thursday. I have two resolutions. I'm going to start with resolution to develop a Tsawwassen First Nation book first. Just some background information on why I would like to bring this forward. This is definitely something that's been talked about for some time now, and it's really interesting, I think, to go this path to develop a Tsawwassen First Nation book. I've been really fortunate enough to see some other nations recently develop their own book, and to hear what the process is and hear about the community's involvement in it is pretty inspiring. It can be costly and timely for this, but what better way to showcase our people and our ancestors? It would be a really great way to honor our ancestors, but at the same time, a great way to share our knowledge and our culture. I anticipate that TFN would probably hire somebody or a publication firm for this, but I'm sure once, if it gets passed, we could discuss those details. But the world's our oyster at this point of what this could look like. And I'll read the resolution. Resolution to develop a Tsawwassen First Nation book. Whereas in engagements with staff and executive council, members continuously raise the need to support transmission of knowledge about Tsawwassen culture and history to younger generations and to members who are moving back to Tsawwassen lands. And whereas though our culture has an oral tradition in the Declaration of Nationhood and Identity, we declared that our traditional government and institutions evolve, and that now we walk in two worlds, and therefore we should embrace modern ways of sharing knowledge. And whereas a book would be a teaching material that we can use to share our knowledge with members, as well as our treaty partners, leasehold resident community, and others that want to learn more about the original inhabitants of this land. And whereas Section 4 of the Tsawwassen Culture and Heritage Act requires Executive Council to preserve, promote, and develop Tsawwassen culture, therefore be it resolved that the Tsawwassen Legislature requests that Executive Council support the development of a Tsawwassen First Nation book that includes information about our history, culture, and treaty, and highlights the voices of our people. Haichka, that is my first resolution, and I'll pass the feather back to get any clarifications.
Haichka, thank you so very much, Legislator Taylor, for this resolution. Legislators, are there any clarifying questions with respect to this resolution? It seems pretty clear. So I think that we'll enjoy some healthy discussion and debate on Thursday. Legislator Taylor is the mover. May I have a seconder? Legislator Marianne. Thank you. This resolution has now been tabled, and we will continue table it on Thursday for debate and discussion. Legislator Taylor, you said you had a second resolution. Would you like to share that with us now?
Haichka Dayton, Haichka Squeakle. Yes, my second resolution is resolution to contract members to share harvesting knowledge. This resolution that I'm bringing forward, oh, sorry, I'm reading what I already this is the second resolution I'll be bringing forward tonight. I just think that we're so fortunate to have so many talented and skilled members in our community with harvesting knowledge, and I've had a few youth specifically reach out to me about wanting to learn more about our culture and our traditional food sources, especially young hunters who want to learn more about our cultural ways to use every part of the animal and preservation, and even like a contracted skilled member hunter that we can take out in a group of youth on the dike to teach them cultural ways of on our traditional territory. Very similar to what Crystal Lockhart brought forward about the workshops. So thank you, Crystal, for bringing that forward, because you read my mind. I really am interested in these types of workshops. And there's a wide range of what these contracted members can bring. And I'm just thinking of a few, smoked salmon workshops, harvesting and gathering of berries on our land, and jam making workshops, preserving hide for cultural uses, or even just information sessions where harvesting and youth can come together and drop in on an information session with hunters and fishers in the community if they want to, attend and learn from those individuals. I know not everybody has hunters and fishers in their family, so I think it's a really great learning opportunity for all of us to come together and share. But my goal of this resolution is to support our members by hiring them to share and teach. And I just couldn't think of a better way for our members to come in and share their knowledge with our youth in the community. This second resolution is a resolution to contract members to share harvesting knowledge, whereas our ancestors were skilled farmers, hunters, and fishers who access a rich variety of foods and steward the land. And these practices are still a fundamental part of our TFN culture and identity. And whereas much of this knowledge still lives within our members, but not every family has traditional knowledge keepers that can pass on this knowledge. And whereas Section 4 of the Tsawwassen Culture and Heritage Act requires Executive Council to preserve, promote, and develop Tsawwassen culture, therefore be it resolved that the legislature requests that Executive Council supports the hiring of Tsawwassen members on a contract basis to share harvesting knowledge and practices in forums available to all members, with topics including hunting and using the whole animal, preserving hide for drum making and other uses, and gathering and uses of traditional plants and medicines. Heichka, and I look forward to any clarifying questions.
Heichka Legislature Taylor for this very important resolution. Any clarifying questions about this resolution and its intent and its purpose? All right. Then Legislature Taylor is the mover. Do I have a seconder for this resolution? Legislature Kwiakwia. This resolution has now been tabled for further discussion and debate for Thursday's meeting. Thank you, Heichka. Legislature Kwiakwia, you said that you had or you indicated that you had a resolution that you'd like to table?
Heichka Squeakle Heichka Feather Runner Dayton. I do have a resolution. Let's see, a resolution to consider amendments to the Tsawwassen First Nation procurement policy. Just speaking to it, I know that there was a similar resolution. I know that there's been work done on the procurement policy, and I'm putting this resolution on the table to support members in all of their businesses. I've just heard concerns from member businesses that, on getting work and all of that. So I think I'll read it first and I'll talk about it. Whereas member-owned businesses have played a critical role in the economic success of Tsawwassen First Nation, has experienced since treaty, and has made significant contributions to economic well-being of members. And whereas member-owned businesses face direct competition with businesses owned and resourced by to the Tsawwassen government, and whereas the Tsawwassen Members Guarantees Act states that the Tsawwassen government will provide support to business enterprises of individual Tsawwassen members and will not favor Tsawwassen government business projects over individual projects. And whereas Section 10 of the Tsawwassen First Nation procurement policy does not advantage member-owned businesses over Tsawwassen government-owned businesses. Therefore, be it resolved that the legislature requests that Executive Council consider amendments to the Tsawwassen First Nation procurement policy that recognize the important role of member-owned businesses by providing them with additional benefits. Like I said, I just heard some concerns from different businesses in the community, and also I find it concerning that our Tsawwassen government might be taking away member businesses that might be resulting in the direct unemployment of our members and families. For thousands of years, our people have had to fight for land, education, and work, and I just feel strongly that we should be supporting our members individually in their business opportunities, and the one competition they shouldn't have is with their own people. And I strongly believe we should lift each other up in a positive way, and if our members can do that, if we can do the work, we can. We don't need to rely on outside agencies and stuff like that for certain things, as long as it's done in a fair and equitable manner. So that's the reason why I put it on the table. just some more work, as always, for government to do. So, Hajka, if anybody has any questions, Hajka Siam.
Hajka Legislature Kuyakuya, thank you for that resolution. Are there any clarifying questions about the motion, the resolution itself? Legislature Sultanat.
Hitchka for the presentation, and Squeakquel and Featherrunner. So can you just clarify, let's see, business enterprises of individual TWOSN members and will not favor TWOSN government business projects over individuals' projects. Does that mean, you know, it's for construction and that type of thing? You know, just, thank you.
Hajka Legislature Sultanat, Legislature Kuyakuya.
The way that I read the procurement policy, right now, Tawasin government and member businesses both have an advantage. This resolution is suggesting that there be an additional advantage to members and member businesses over Tawasin government. I don't believe that we should be competing with our own people. Yeah, that's where that comes from. Hajka.
Hajka, thank you so much. Any clarifying questions for the motion, the resolution? I have a seconder, Tehuilam has already indicated to me that he would like to second this resolution. So it has now been formally seconded by Tehuilam. Therefore, this resolution has now been tabled and it will be ready for discussion and debate at our next meeting. Hajka legislatures for your hard work and thought in how to improve our services to our members and improve our government operations with these resolutions. Are there any other legislators who wish to introduce a resolution? All right, wonderful, excellent work tonight, everybody. So my apologies, Legislature Sultanat, did you have something that you wanted to comment on?
Okay, Hajka Squeakquel. I just wanted to, I'm not too sure if you guys heard, but Chief Wayne Sparrow, mom-in-law passed away. I mean, Wayne yeah, he's a Sparrow, but Wayne, his mom was Carol Campbell, and she passed away, and her funeral is tomorrow. I just thought I'd share that because Wayne is always supporting the Tawasin people whenever there's been a death in our community. So I just thought I'd like to pass that on, and hopefully, you know, if I get it right, I'll go tomorrow. Okay,
OCM, Hajka.
It's at 9 o'clock. Okay.
Hajka for sharing that, and our prayers out to the family for that loss. It's always very, very difficult. Thank you, Sultanat. It's been good work tonight. We've worked through a number of schedules. We've got through our resolutions, and we have now concluded the official business for this evening. I would like to once again thank Legislature Marianne for stepping up to the podium and opening up our meeting in a good way. We appreciate those messages and the open heart that you put into and the love that you put into opening up our session for this evening. I'd like to also thank, and it's the Adams Sisters night, so there's Marianne, and then there's Connie and Jessica that were blessing the table for the food that nourished us, and for Wapio and Quiquimosat for drumming us in. We really appreciate that ceremonial work. We really count on that drum and that processional moving in and out in the ceremony as if we were walking on the longhouse floor. You know, this is our government house for now, and we are the spirit of our ancestors, and they walk with us. So this is where we do our government work, and that ceremony transports us to remember that those years and years of governance that happened in our longhouses, and that drum and that song. So we're very grateful for that ceremonial work. And to Dayton for being our feather runner. Another great session. We didn't have you hopping too much, but we kept you busy enough, so we really, really appreciate that. And to Mama Jay's for another delicious meal and nourishing us and putting out fruit and cookies as well and leftovers for us. Thank you to the advisory council members that are here listening, and those advisory councils members that might be in the gallery, to our elders that are present and those that might be on stream as well. And any members that are also watching and viewing online, we really appreciate that. Thank you for your staff for being here, taking time away from your family and working these late nights. We're almost done, so it won't be long before you'll be wondering, what am I going to do with my Thursday and Tuesday nights? Oh, maybe have a little me time, hey? And thank you to any guests that are here with us tonight, either in person or streaming. There will be a ceremonial procession as we were drummed out, and we remove our feathers from the mantle. Thank you again for the privilege and the honor of being your Squeakquel tonight. Haitchka OCM, meeting adjourned.
Oh